I call this meeting of the Seaside Planning Commission to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jordan, could you please take the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Commissioner Don Johnson,
Present.
Commissioner Brandon Kraft,
Present.
Commissioner Gretchen Stalmer,
Here.
Chair Robin Montero,
Here.
Vice Chair Kathy Klusik, Commissioner Roger Mitchell, Commissioner Chris Rose. Thank you.
Wonderful. Happy Fat Tuesday, everybody.
Yeah.
Alrighty, this is the time and place duly advertised for the Seaside Planning Commission to hold its monthly meeting. Agenda items can be initiated by the general public, any legal property owner, Seaside City Council, city staff, and the Seaside Planning Commission. Does anyone present feel the commission lacks the authority to hear any item on the agenda? Hearing none. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to the draft minutes of February 4th, 2025? Hearing none, the minutes are adopted as written. It is standard procedure for the members of the commission to visit the sites to be dealt with at these meetings. Do any of the commissioners wish to declare an ex parte contact or conflict of interest? Okay,
I also have a potential conflict of interest as I own and operate hotels in town.
okay.
Potential conflict of interest as I own and operate hotels in town. However, I don't have a direct conflict of interest.
Mr. Mitchell? Ms. Klesak?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson? Ms. Tomer? Okay. I went to visit the site, and while I was there, I did meet the neighbor of Seaside Brewing. We said, hello, how are you? And no other further discussion. So there you go. It's on the record. The following public hearing requirements are apply to the items on our agenda. The applicable criteria for the hearing items are listed in the staff reports prepared for this hearing. Testimony and evidence shall be directed toward the applicable criteria listed in the staff reports or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which you believe applies to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on the issue. The applicant will testify first, followed by any others in favor of the request, then any in opposition will testify, and then the applicant will be given time for rebuttal. For testimony, we will hear from in-person attendees, followed by electronic attendees. When the time comes to hear from the members of the public attending electronically, there's a feature in the attendee view that allows you to electronically raise your hand by clicking on the control panel at the bottom of your screen. Phone attendees can raise their hand by pressing star 9. You will then be placed into a queue, and when your time comes to speak, you will be unmuted and can address the commission. Our moderator of the comments, Administrative Assistant Jordan Sprague, will monitor this area and let us know when citizens that have virtually raised their hand are ready to make comments via Zoom or by phone. Background noise must be kept to a minimum while testifying, or your testimony time will be ended early. Prior to testifying, please state your full name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Public hearing items. The first public hearing item on the agenda is 769-24-000080 PLNG. Mr. Planning Director.
Thank you, Chair Montero. This is a modification to a conditional use that was approved by this commission last year. The applicant has conditional approval for a 6-unit hotel above a restaurant with a parking area that's off-site but near the rear of the building. The applicant's requesting a modification to their parking plan as well as adding an additional unit to the hotel rooms. The applicants have shown that they've got sufficient parking for the proposed use. Again, it's within the C4 zone. The parking lot is adjacent to the highway, as you can see there on the screen. Staff's provided the findings and justifications for the commission to review. One thing of note, our previous review, staff missed a couple of criteria that needed to be addressed, and the applicants addressed it with this, and it has to do with landscaping and access off the highway. As you can see from the applicant's previous plan, there was only a 4.5-foot buffer. There needs to be an average of a 10-foot buffer from the highway right-of-way overlay zone. So the applicant has changed their parking lot configuration to where ingress egress will be from the alleyway instead of from the Avenue A side of the property. The applicant's had conversations with ODOT and has provided an email that you should have in your packet from ODOT that their preference is for access from the highway. It sounds like there's some moving parts to ODOT's redesign of this intersection that's coming in the next year or two, which with their review of this and then their support for the applicant, they've shown that access off the alley would be better for the highway ingress egress. The applicant late yesterday provided us with a more detailed landscape plan. You'll see as part of the landscape requirements, the applicant has to submit a plan to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and provide a timeline. The applicant has not provided a timeline yet. That has been addressed in condition 5. If the commission chooses, they can provide that timeline in writing to the city instead of coming back to the commission for that. Or if the applicant's comfortable tonight, they can provide a timeline when they give testimony. A couple of things I want to point out. When we look at the actual site, the applicant has proposed a sidewalk that will still tie into the ADA ramp that's existing and wrap around and tie into the neighboring property to the west. We'll also look at the ODOT ingress egress. This is a 10-foot alleyway. And again, I haven't seen a schematic of what ODOT's going to do, but from my understanding, it's a pull in, pull out bus stop where the bus will be able to get completely off the highway. I will note I have been told in the past too that they're going to cut into the City Hall lawn, which is right out here, to widen the right of way out to what they actually show on their maps and the plat maps. Let me get back to. So as you can see from the zoning map there, and the map to the right with the actual tax lots overlaid over the aerial, how the highway overlay or the highway right of way is significantly wider near the applicant's property than it is at the neighboring properties. So the applicants will provide the 10-foot buffer, and again, we don't know what ODOT's going to do, but there's space there to manage a bus stop, especially if they widen out to the east side of the highway as well. I've provided the commission with 5 recommended conditions in the addendum report that was sent. These are similar to what was on the original approval, with condition 5 ensuring that they have a schedule for the implementation of their landscape plan. And again, we will still need these 2 lots tied together through a deed restriction so that the parking for the proposed hotel use is kept available for use of those tenants for as long as the hotel is in operation. That's all I have. I can turn it over to the chair, and if the commission has any questions, I can certainly try to answer them.
Thank you. And who would like to step forward and represent this project? It can be both of you if you like. All righty. Come on. No, you can have a seat at the table. You get a sit at the table.
Oh,
And make sure your green light is showing on your microphone and pull it up
it
close.
is.
Okay.
It is. I'm
Introduce
green.
yourself.
So my first name is Raphael. And my last name is Goodblatt, and I'm the newer architect on this.
And
What-
your address, please.
Pardon me?
Your address.
Oh, right, 5010 Southwest Mitchell Street, Portland, Oregon, 97221.
Thank you. Tell us all about it.
I came on, as you know, we're just looking for a slight change to the original approval. And I took over this project in April, and we're getting, everything's moving along nicely, and we're just trying to go back through the system and work with Jeff to basically add one room, guest room to the building, and one parking spot to the building, and change the egress inlet to the parking lot. I've been working with ODOT to find out what's going on with them. I've been working with Jeff in terms of the schematic, and we're just at a point where we need you to say yes or convince you to say yes, however you want to look at it. I can walk you through the drawing if you have questions about anything that was laid out. As you can see from the old and the new, it's the differences that one of the big differences is not having the access off A Street. That is being done for numerous reasons, but one of them is with the changes ODOT's going to make. They're actually going to be doing an ADA ramp across the street. So we don't have to do an ADA ramp across the street. And the second issue is moving that power pole and moving that fire hydrant is hugely difficult. It's not a common situation. And I called the power company, and they came out and looked at it. I had a discussion with them to get an estimate for the work and the process in terms of, and also moving the fire hydrant from the water department. And it just seems like that's what alleys are built for, to keep traffic out of the way of difficult spots. And I know I've been coming here during the winter, which has been nice because there's not a lot of traffic. And I know that summer in Seaside is got to be a lot of traffic in that area. So I'm hoping to convince you that change is small and the redesign will work. And it's better for the owner for sure. It saves her a significant amount of money, and it adds a room so she has an opportunity to make more taxes in room rent. And I don't know what else. It's been vetted by everybody to make sure the idea works before we came to you for the change.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor of this project?
We are in favor.
Oh, if you would like to speak, you need to come up and have a seat.
Maybe Aaron, my contractor who is doing the project.
Please state your name and address, Aaron.
My name's Aaron Fawcett,
Oh, yes. Hi.
1242 Southwest 9th Street, Warrenton, Oregon, 97146. I've been working with Raphael, like you said, since April about the redesign of this and with ODOT. And we just think this is a safer entrance into the parking space. We were estimated moving that pole would be a 48-week process, which that doesn't really fit our timeline too well, but if need be, we could still do that. It adds additional parking space, so she can add an additional room. 48. Oh, and so we anticipate with approval that the parking would be done anywhere between 3 and 4 months tops, because we know that it needs to be done for her to open up the hotel, and we're anticipating having the building done and certificate of occupancy around August. So that's our goal for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? I should first ask. Jordan, do we have anybody online or? We do not. Okay. Is there anybody who is not in favor of this project? Please step forward. Hearing nobody? Okay. You're an observer? that's fine. That's fine. Raphael, if you'd like to come back up front, now I'll turn it over. I'll close the public comment and turn it over to the commissioners for a Q&A. Mr. Mitchell.
No questions.
Mr. Rose.
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I have no questions that pertain to the. I just had some curiosity questions. Where's the main entrance going to be for the motel?
On Broadway.
Okay.
But there is a back entrance off of the alley also, which is the ADA parking. On the larger drawing, you see the other spot we have is ADA right next to the building.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of helps with that sort of circulation.
Okay. And then again, these are just curiosities.
That's
for
okay.
me.
I like,
And the restaurant is going to be separate from the motel,
yes, right, Anna?
and the second floor is going to be a restaurant as well, or is that part of the motel? That'll be a lounge for the motel. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Great.
Anna, if you would like to come and sit in the front, because we need to get your comments onto the record. Jordan, is this microphone working all right? Perfect. So if you could just repeat what you just said.
So the second floor is going to be the hotel lounge where people can come downstairs and have a breakfast, light breakfast or coffees and lounge around.
Okay, perfect. No, that's great. Thanks.
Ms. Dahmer?
I have no questions.
Mr. Kraft?
Pardon. Sorry, I'm so sorry. In the original drawings, can you pull up the original parking lot drawing, please, Jeff? Okay, so when they're side by side, I'm counting on the original 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including the ADA parking space on the original. On the revised, if I'm counting this correctly, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus the ADA van parking by the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're increasing by that. Okay. Great, thank you. Just a moment. Nope. Too many windows open. Can you highlight for me, please, what is the change on the landscaping portion? Is it on the new drawings? Is it the highlighted plants, just adding additional plants to it, or what's the exact change on that?
So the code requires an average of a 10-foot landscape buffer off of the highway.
Right.
The previous plan had a 4.5-foot buffer, while this one actually meets the code requirement, and the applicants actually put together a more detailed landscape plan. So in our codes, there's no definition, there's no standards or criteria for what landscaping is. It just says landscaping is reviewed by the Planning Commission. So the applicants put together different types of plants and grass to plant that will be similar to what's existing with the neighboring property there. Just something to buffer off of the highway with. And one consideration the commission could make too is to request or condition that landscaping be kept at a certain height so it doesn't get in the way of a clear vision triangle or anything like that as well. So I believe most of the plants and plantings that the applicant is suggesting are under 4 feet tall here.
Great, thank you. I got the buffer portion of it, but then the second drawing had color to it, so I thought maybe there were something else needed to be.
He submitted
unpacked.
a more detailed landscape plan with actual plant types and grass types.
Just making sure it didn't have any big significance. Thank you.
That's it. Ms. Klezak?
Well, while we're on the planters, I'll stick with that because I just wanted to make sure that we have it in writing that it will be a 10-foot planter, not 4 foot as was written in the application.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be 10 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, that's, I dimensioned it. I don't know if you can see it in the drawing, but I did put the 10-foot dimension on there.
yeah, I saw it on the drawing, but then in writing, I also saw 4 feet. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on which one was being approved.
10.
Okay.
That's my understanding is 10.
10 feet.
Now, if you'd go back to the original parking lot application, When we first considered this application, there was a discussion about not sending traffic out the alleyway or coming in the alleyway, I forget which one, because of the speed of traffic moving through that area already. And now we're just deciding that it's all good. I just don't understand where the conversation about the speed and safety of traffic movement through the alleyway went to in the interim.
There's nothing, no criteria in our code that prohibits ingress egress out of the alleyway that I can find.
Okay, but it is our,
Jeff and I did, I don't mean to interrupt,
Okay.
but Jeff and I actually had a long discussion about that. Like, how do we make sure people can get safely in and out of the parking lot and make sure they can see the alley? So you see where the two cars are, one coming in, one going out. There's on the newer plan, I put another dimension on there. That's 17 feet deep, which a parking spot is 18 feet deep. So a car can either come in or go out and sit there and really check what's going on before they enter the alley. Or if they're coming off the alley, they have the whole width of the drive aisle is 24 and a half feet. So what we tried to do is say, okay, we only have a 10-foot alley. What can we do so make sure that the front 20 or so feet of the parking lot is available for people to make a good decision?
so I'm going to say that all of your customers will be the perfect angels and will drive slowly and carefully in and out of your parking lot and to enter the alleyway. I think the discussion and the concern was the speed at which people are using the alleyway, whether entering off of 101, which sometimes in order to do it safely, people assume they have to do it quickly because of the amount of traffic and congestion that is happening there. So they come into that alleyway really quickly, and then they also exit that alleyway very quickly. Neither one of those is specifically your responsibility. However, you're adding to that traffic and adding to those pinch points. So has that been considered, and have we done any sort of traffic study or consideration in that regard?
This application does not rise to the level of needing a traffic study. ODOT has been advised, ODOT's been working with the applicant. ODOT could have required a traffic study should they have requested one, and they never requested one.
Okay, well, I will just note my concern, especially since they're going to add the extra added element of a bus pullout right where people are going to be entering that alleyway, and we are adding congestion to that. So I think as much as this makes financial sense to move everything off of the sidewalk, and I like that there's going to be a sidewalk there, off of A, and that there's going to be a sidewalk there and an ADA ramp, I think we're looking at trouble as far as pinch points and access and accidents at that entrance and exit to the alleyway off of 101. And future different messages that you might get from ODOT when you're adding traffic in that area. So
May I speak, please? When I was here January 2nd, the previous meeting that we had, I said that we are supporting a less traffic congestion. We are actually diminishing the number of cars going in and out by doing this parking space, because right now cars can park there at their own, accord. They just park there. Nobody is controlling them. You can see 20, 30 cars at any time parked there. But by having supervised parking spot, I think that having just 6 or 7 parking spots is way better than having 20 or 30. This is happening as we speak. So I think we're contributing in diminishing the danger.
I appreciate that perspective. I don't think the maths for me, but I still appreciate the perspective that you provided.
Can I just respond one more
Sure.
to your questions? Jeff, can you put up the more recent drawing I did? Okay, the other thing I want to point out is that, see where the trash area is? It's set 6 feet off the property line also. I really tried to make sure that people had a vision triangle when they were sitting in that car before they touched that alley. So that way, because in talking to Jeff about it, it's like, what's everything we can do to make it safe. So even in the location of the trash area, set it back, do everything you can. So I definitely considered it as I drew it, how to make it as safe as possible. And look, I have to say, as we know, so I'm hired by Anna. I have to try to make it work for her. That's my job, right? At the same time, I don't want to sign on to anything that isn't well designed and safe, period. I don't care what it is. So that it was nice for me to get to work it, like, here's Jeff's insight as I tried to do it to make sure that it was safe. So, and then also like working with ODOT a little bit is I tried to make sure all stakeholders had an opinion while the drawing was being produced. It wasn't like we just didn't come here and throw a drawing on your table to put you in an uncomfortable position. It was more about, here's our homework, we think this works. So
Okay.
I just wanted to explain, like, I want to make sure I'm respecting your thoughts on the safety issue.
I appreciate that, and I also will say that with all of ODOT's moving parts with this particular intersection, sometimes it's the question that you ask that determines whether you get all the answers that you need. And so that's all I'm saying about that. Going back to a procedural housekeeping thing, is this a extension of the original conditional use? Is this because it's been over a year?
They've been issued building permits. There's been substantial construction taking place to enact the conditional use. That's all the ordinance requires.
Perfect. I didn't see
So-
that anywhere documented in here that had happened. So I just wanted to make sure housekeeping wise, we were good on that. Where was the other thing that I had in here? Where's my note? Sorry.
Don't apologize. We're working on iPads.
Working on getting used to different iPad programs. Where'd it go? You saw it. As far as the conditional use permit is concerned and the adding the additional room, which floor is the additional room being added from the previous application?
The second floor.
And that's a permissible combination of usage is short-term residence and restaurant usage?
That'll be up to the building code
Okay.
and how the designer of the project to meet the code and get that change permitted.
Okay. I cannot find my other question right now, so I will temporarily pass.
I do want to add one thing, Madam Vice Chair. Under Section J, landscaping requirements, you mentioned earlier you didn't see where it said 10 foot. It does say the average of a 10-foot strip of land under Section J, and they have applied or complied with that. You just mentioned earlier you didn't see where it said 10 foot versus 4 foot. It is under Section J.
Right, and in their application, they actually wrote 4 feet.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's
I just
why-
want to
was
clarify
the
that because I was
clarification
confused
that I
with what you
was-
were asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you find it?
No, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Still good.
I have a couple of questions. Just for clarification, you all answered already why you're adding a 7th room. That makes sense, and I saw that you eliminated the video poker. Good for you. Now, Raphael, as I understand, you came on in April of last year?
Yep.
So when this came before the commission last year on January 2nd, I'm curious how the due diligence did not show the cost of that curb cut on Avenue A from the get-go, and that all of a sudden now it's $130,000 that you weren't aware of.
Because we asked how long and how much it will cost.
But did you know that ahead of time? That's why I'm asking. Because, I mean,
We
that's a
didn't.
big
Actually, I
surprise.
was researching the internet. I thought I could just go buy a electric pole and bring it. And we found out that only the Pacific Power can order that. And they gave us the pricing. and it takes a long time for them to respond to us. So when we found out, we were surprised.
Boy, that is a long time considering it was last
They asked
January.
for 48 months to deliver the pole.
48 months or weeks?
8 months
8 months.
minimum to get the pole here.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, okay. I was just curious because,
Can I address the question a little more? So when I came on, the project didn't have approved permits. They were, Bob Mitchell, the reviewer, had put together a big list of items. And when they hired me, because Bob had put together such a great list, it was one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, this is a good job to take on because people had gotten to a certain point.
Right.
And I didn't have to do all that other homework. And so when I came on board, it was my time to start, for lack of a better word, tear up every question that is in front of me and see if there's a reason to reevaluate it. So when I saw what was going on with the parking lot and everything, I'm going, I got to call the power pole people. I got to know what's going on here. So I started investigating it while we were still submitting for permit. While we were still responding to the check sheets to get final approval. That's when I started finding that out. But I couldn't stop everything because we knew we had to go to the planning commission and we knew we needed to get the building permit also going. So the priority is, okay, let's get the building permit going. Let's investigate this more and let's just keep going. Because it's always, obviously everybody who's spending money wants to keep going. That's like a normal response. So that's where it came from. It's because of the transition of, I think the other architect would have found out much faster also. But because I came on new, it's like I needed to like, okay, what part should I do now? What part should I do now? And that's how we discovered it.
okay, and that was just a curious question.
No, I was curious. Me too.
Surprise.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Anna, has there been any conversation with yourself, your LLC, and the owner of Seaside Brewing in possibly doing a trade of properties? Because I know that on the west portion of Block 6, last four digits are 2301, which is on the far west. I'm just curious if you've had conversation. I know that sounds just so simple, but why not? If you've had conversation with Jimmy of Seaside Brewing, possibly doing that.
This was suggested to me actually by my landlord for the warehouse that I'm renting right now, where I keep my equipment, waiting to finish the project. And he suggested that, and I thought it was a good idea, but it never came, like we never spoke with Jimmy about that.
Because there's an existing curb cut, is why I'm asking. And, I mean, it would just
They
eliminate a lot of these issues.
Why don't you just exchange properties? I'm like, is that how simple that is?
If you have the conversation, it very well could be. Just food for thought. And also, and if that were the case, maybe, I don't know, you do the East End landscaping as a neighborly gesture. I have a question. Raphael, you're probably going to be the one to answer this. On the easement, Jeff, if you could bring up the easement. Oh, no. Do we have a tax map by chance? Okay, that's all right. I'll just kind of roll with it. The easement was with the Pogues and Equivest, which I believe was Mr. Fawcett's
Yeah.
company. Okay. And in reading this and then looking at the tax map, it looks, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the easement was between lots 19 and 18, which is Seaside Brewing and Nani's. Your property is lot 20. So I'm just confused as to a little bit about this easement.
You don't have the drawing.
Brewery? You
don't
said
have
the
the
easement is
original full
between
drawing.
the brewery and,
Well, according to the tax map,
I got to get on my computer for a minute because I have another drawing that shows the other site with the easement on it.
grab it if you got it right with you.
Yeah, I do.
I'm just confused and I want to make sure that.
So, show everybody before going. So this is the drawing that I turned in, Jeff.
Right, we have that.
Right, so here's the building, and here's what I understood and what I was given for the easement, and then this is the verbal description. If you give me another moment, I can pull up the whole easement. have
I
it.
have the easement here.
Okay.
That's where I'm confused because it refers to lot 19 and 18. 18 is Seaside Brewing, 19 is Nani's, and 20 is the Menzel building. Oh, there you go, Jeff.
I'm trying.
821 Broadway.
At this moment, I don't know how to answer your question.
That's all right.
I want to go.
Well, Jeff's going to bring up the tax map. And why he does that. Let me ask you something else, though. You can have a seat so you can get it on the microphone or on the record. Is the ADA parking on the easement a necessity to fulfill the parking requirements?
Well, if you put in parking, the first spot has to be van accessible.
Okay.
The ADA code.
Okay, so we need, and Jeff can correct me, 7 parking spaces now, is that correct?
And 1 employee, so you need 8.
8.
Total.
Oh, okay.
To
Okay.
run, if you have a 7-room place, you need 8 spaces.
Okay, so,
And then, yeah.
so you really do need this to fulfill. And is this going to be an exclusive easement between the hotel and, next door is Nani's, of course. Do they have, it's really confusing according to this, but would they have rights to park there as well?
they already have those rights. They have been using the space all these years and having their garbage there and their parking spots.
And they have a really big sign that says no parking or you're going to be towed from here. right there. Were you able to?
Are you asking, like, so when you look at that, kind of those spaces where the tower is, and so right now there's 4 parking spaces there. So are you asking if, when they put in the ADA space, is the adjacent owner going to be using the ADA space also?
Well, I
Is that
guess
your
that's what I'm
question?
asking. Do they have the rights to use that space as well?
The parking spots are, on the easement, it specifies that the parking spots are for the Menzel building.
The easement does say granted for the unrestricted use of the defined real property and land for the purpose of parking, ingress, egress, and use of cement and brick built hose tower.
Okay.
Doesn't say Menzel building.
No, it does not. And if I'm looking at this, it says lots 18 and 19.
I think the lots were renamed later on at some point,
Doesn't that say?
the numbers.
That surprises me. Okay, just getting down to the ADA entry ramp.
The ADA entry ramp, which,
On the south entrance of the building. It says that there's an ADA entry ramp.
so in the technical world, okay, of ADA ramps, if you do a ramp that's the slope is 1 to 12, it's ADA.
Okay,
If you do 1 to 20, technically, it's a walkway.
okay.
It's not called ADA ramp, so it doesn't need handrails. and it doesn't need curbs, it doesn't need all that. So when I can, as an architect, I try to elongate the walkway to 1 to 20, so it's a little better slope. So that's what I put in on the back. The other part of it is, to do it that way, is from the back of the building to the property line is 4 feet,
Right.
according to the survey that I got. In the technical world, you're supposed to try to get that 5-foot turning radius. There's no physical way to do that. So I'm trying to make the top landing a little larger, because in the ADA code, side approach to a door lets you go down to like 54 inches and even 48, depending on where the latch and lever are. So I'm trying to make it as accommodating as the width and the spot will allow me.
So my question is, there will be a ramp heading west to the door where it's flush to the door entry,
Correct.
because it's like a 12-inch drop right now.
It's an 8-inch drop.
8-inch drop. Okay, so that's going to happen. And so will you be putting up a handrail?
Drew in just like a little pipe rail that follows the edge of it, so nobody can walk off the edge of it or trip or fall off the edge of it.
That's probably a good idea. Thank you.
No, I don't
Okay,
have to sleep at night too.
yeah. So over to the parking lot on the east side, up in the northwest corner, there's a power pole and a telecom box in that northwest corner. How is that going to affect ingress and egress into your parking lot?
I think it's, hang on, let me look at my own little photo here. It's close, but we should be able to park around.
You'll have clearance?
Yeah.
Okay, because I noticed it wasn't drawn onto the plan as an existing.
And now I'm going to go double check. But that's the nice thing about doing the 24/6 of the drive aisle. Like I haven't cut any of this close. Because like typically when I do a drive aisle, all I need is 20 feet. So, and if I have to make the trash area a little smaller and make it a little, then I have that room. So there's room to make things continually fit
Good.
within, you know what I mean? Because that's part of design also, squeezing it a little bit as you get closer to doing it.
And on the revised parking lot drawing that we've got, where is the power or the lighting pole that was a condition of last year's approval? I don't see it drawn on there anywhere.
I talked to the electrician about doing smaller, lower, what do you call it, ground light instead of an uplight. This is just me, what I do as an architect. You're always trying to reduce the skylight as you can, but give people a low light. So instead of doing one big light, we talked about doing solar-powered lights at a more like a 4-foot level, so people could see the area, but not more light strewn, because there is a light pole right there also. So that's what I talked to the electrician, who I'm going to see tomorrow, I think.
Jeff, can those bollard lights?
Oh, thank you.
Very
I should know
similar
that
to,
word.
yeah, bollard, very similar to like Riverwalk up in
Yeah.
Astoria. Can those be placed in that 10-foot buffer? Or does that have to be absolutely clear?
Again, there's no criteria for what landscaping is. That could be considered landscaping if the commission wanted to consider that as part of the landscaping. And from a traffic safety perspective, a bollard along that edge would potentially prohibit an out-of-control vehicle from crashing into the parking lot.
If it's on the, if it's on the west side of that, you just want to make sure that you're clear of the overhang.
Can
Yeah.
it be swapped for the condition of the light pole?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. What do you have to say about that, Raphael?
Ask me your question again. I'm not clear on what you want me to answer. I'm sorry.
What does everybody else think of that? Lighting bollards versus a power pole or a light pole? it would look a lot nicer. Okay.
I would say as long as that light output provides the same amount of safety for the
Safety.
parking lot as a power pole light would.
And there is street lighting there, you said. Okay, I'm just noting. Swap, bollard lights. Jeff, would you write that down so I don't forget?
Is this another condition that you're looking to?
Well, it's a change
It's
of
a
condition.
trade. It's a change of condition from the last approval of a parking lot light standard to bollards.
Solar powered bollards, that's the goal.
That's the goal is, well, you know our weather, so keep that in mind. You may have to actually electrify them.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. And on the trash can area, how tall is that surround?
I was gonna make it 6 feet.
Okay, 6 feet. And where is the access to that?
It's there is a set of gates that will probably be swing gates. I drew sliding gates there. Swing gates right there in the middle.
On the north side?
Yeah, exactly, on the north side.
Okay.
So they can just pull their truck up, pull everything out, do their job.
Okay. Alrighty, and just hope that nobody has to get in or out.
They better work quick, huh?
I would suggest on your landscaping, and as far as the condition goes, to modify that from a 4-foot maximum height to a 36-inch maximum height, just because of the visibility issue. Going north, when you look north, curb cut that comes down that alley is, well, for lack of better words, beautiful, because you don't have a sharp 90 degree. You will have a sharp 90 degree when you're going out, and even though there is ODOT land that goes beyond there, I think 36.
Well, you see the part of the dotted square that's right next to the word alley, and the dimensions are there. So that I left turf. So it doesn't have any. So when you're sitting in your car and you look to your right, you only see the turf, and the plants start kind of at the end of at the trash area. So I was always thinking of that vision triangle. I'm in that car, I want that angle.
Okay, well, let's go back to 4 feet then, but that's at mature height.
Yeah,
Mature height. Because rhododendrons, I don't know about yours, but mine are 8 foot tall.
yeah. Well, I think I used azaleas, which tend to be a dwarf of a.
Yeah.
Its technical name is rhododendron. You can see it there. But I put down the azalea, and then I tried to write 4 feet, reminding whoever takes care of this, trim them at 4.
Yeah, because like I said, you don't want an 8-foot rhododendron. Nobody wants an 8-foot rhododendron. Let me tell you. One other thing. You will be getting folks going northbound and heading west into the alley. It is legal to take a left on a double yellow line, but you can. That's pretty much a note to myself, but I had
And
to
Madam
say
Chair,
it.
that traffic pattern may change depending on ODOT's remodel.
And
letters.
that was my concern, because if a median goes in, you're only going to be able to receive southbound traffic. So just a note. One of the things also from last year's approval was that a right turn only heading east out of the alley is to be attached to the stop sign.
And I think I put that note in the notes 4. Did I put that in there? I can't read it from here.
Number 4.
Turning from parking lot to the existing alley, right turn only.
Okay, because of course the sign never went up. Now that's a city stop sign. Is that going to have approval by the city to put that right turn only on there?
The right turn will be out of the alley, so it'll be the alley, not right turn onto the highway, right turn onto the alley. So
No, I'm talking about heading east out of the alley onto 101.
That's something that would have to go through the city and probably Highway 101 or the ODOT for approval to do that.
Okay.
Are you trying to get the alley to be a right turn only? I'm just trying to clarify.
Heading out of it, yes, because it's, well, two reasons.
The applicant doesn't have control over that. The applicant does have control over their own parking lot of making that a right turn only. But right turn only from a public right of way onto the highway is going to take approval from ODOT and likely the city.
Okay, and if a median does go in on 101, it's a moot point, but that's a dangerous spot. So, we're trying to work with you with the minimum amount of ingress and egress that you
But
have.
to alleviate any traffic further east or further west on the alleyway, it's sufficient to condition the parking lot on having the applicant put in, as noted in their plan, a right turn only out of the parking lot onto the alley.
Note that. It's on there. Good. And I just wanted to let you know that in the previous plan, the exit out of that parking was always heading north and coming out that way.
But there was a one-way, rather that we reduced it into a one-way traffic from
Pretty
this
much did,
project
yes.
rather than both directions of traffic. And
Yeah, yeah. And gee whiz, I think I've asked and you answered all my questions. ODOT is fine with it.
And Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
As it pertains to condition 5, again, applicant still needs to provide a timeline. They've offered a
Yes.
timeline of 3 to 4 months. What's the commission's feeling on that for satisfying condition 5 in the meeting now instead of providing it in writing later?
How about, 3 or 4 months, we know what can happen, with our weather. End of September, that actually gives you a few extra days. What is everybody saying? End of September, good?
Condition 5 will be rewritten to allow the landscape plan to be completed by the end of September.
September 30th, 2025.
Wow. They said you have to have the parking lot done by September.
That gives
We
you
have to have it, otherwise I'm gonna,
Okay. All right.
we have to open our business.
Yeah. Sooner the better, right?
Well,
Jeff, is that
yes.
the parking lot or just the landscaping?
next to the SBA.
Just the landscaping. The parking lot needs to be done before they open the business.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll already be defined
But the landscaping can go in until the end of September.
end of September. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I found my 2 other things.
Okay, I'm going to turn this back over to Vice Chair Klezak. She found her 2 other questions for you.
Thank you. I don't see where the bicycle parking is noted in this new plan.
On the other drawings,
It's by the ADA.
it's by the ADA parking.
Okay, no wonder I didn't see it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's back there.
I could see it over his computer. And that's going to be providing bicycle parking with lockable bicycle stands, or just somebody could stand their bicycles there?
A standard rack. I mean,
It's going to be a rack.
yeah.
Okay. Because I couldn't see anything but just the bicycles
Yeah.
drawn in there. So there will be a bike rack there.
And then they have, if I recall, interior
That was a,
bike
Having
Okay.
parking too.
okay.
space for that.
Perfect. And in condition 4, you note that the applicant will need to provide signage to ensure parking lot is reserved and strictly for guests in the hotel to prevent hotel guests from taking up parking along Broadway. That signage seems to refer to signage in the parking lot. I believe, in my opinion, we also need to require signage in the hotel that says that that's where you're supposed to park, because otherwise everybody else will know that that's only for hotel guests. But hotel guests could park wherever they want and walk into the hotel and have no idea that there's actually a place where they're supposed to park.
With their booking or reservation, they will get written instructions.
Okay. But I think that we should make that should be an included part of the condition that the.
That's up to the commission, not up to me.
So, speaking from the hotel operations side of things, that's a moot. That's honestly, that's not going to do anything. Once it has to be the conversation at the front desk, as well as the time of booking and instructions walking them through. Because I've been doing this 18 years, and no matter how much you put signage up, signage becomes a wallflower, and nobody pays attention to it. So it's really in the operational portion of booking and communicating that personally up front.
Okay, so did we want to make that, all of that part of the condition, or just,
Well, that would be conditioning the operations
right,
of the
which
business.
is why I'm
which is-
saying a sign in there, which is then part of the,
I'm simply saying that from experience, it won't matter whether you do it or not.
Conditioning the operations of their business is stepping outside of what our approval criteria can be, while conditioning the use of the parking lot to be restricted strictly for guests is, I believe, within the purview of the commission.
And the signage would be inside saying for hotel guest parking only. Aquamarine, hotel guest parking only. So you can do it from the outside, but you can't do it from the inside. Any other questions, ma'am?
nope, that's it.
All righty. With that being said, who wants to say what? I'll entertain a motion.
Well, there was a lot discussed, so I move that. I'm sorry, I do not have the correct one up here.
But
There.
Commissioner Kraft, before you do that, let me make sure I go over what I have for notes, so that the commission can make the motion and agree on what we're saying here.
Okay.
Condition 2, exterior lighting will be to add solar powered baller lights for the parking lot and along that eastern edge, or was it the western edge?
It's the eastern edge
Along the eastern edge.
in the,
Planter strip.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, somewhere in the planter strip.
Your strip. Okay.
We'll just say in the planter strip with, reasonable distance from the front tire of an
Got it.
F50, F Ford 150, whatever that extension is.
And then condition 5, to implement a 4-foot maximum height on landscaping,
And that's what he addressed to begin with, yes.
and the landscape plan can be completed by the end of September.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to include the equivalent lighting capacity of the bollards that is to what the standard pole safety would have provided?
Well, I don't know my lumen chart. I am going to defer that to the planning department and the building department. We do have an outdoor or an exterior state pole. to
Are you
begin
able
with.
to provide a lighting plan? Okay. So why don't we add, if you want to add to the condition to submit a lighting plan for review.
Yeah,
by
there you
the-
go. On number 2.
Great.
Number 2, yeah.
I just don't want,
Sure.
household
Right. No.
solar lighting to be stuck in the
You mean
ground
those
and be done
dollar
with
store?
it. Yes,
No.
that
And
don't.
personally, I'd rather they be hardwired, but I understand solar is a green way to go.
Little bit at a time, like anytime you can. So use a little more green, a little less uplighting. That's kind of what you're taught in school. And even though I've been out of school for a while, you're still trying to meet certain ideological criteria.
Well, my concern is I just want to make sure that they are illuminated at night, even when you have a street lamp there, because sometimes when you have a street lamp on, a solar light will not come on.
Well, we're meeting with the electrician, and if hardwiring works, I don't object. I'm just always trying to design what I think is best. I prefer to see bollards solar powered, but if the condition is wiring it, then you wire it. I don't, I can only suggest, I can't demand.
Yeah. Anybody have thoughts on that?
I think that we should make the condition bollard lighting of similar lumens as a safety
As the benchmark.
pole,
Okay.
and leave it up to you to figure out which way is going to be the best way to go. you know, you can set them on a timer rather than on, you know, dusk
I know.
dawn.
I know.
and-
That's the other thing I like.
So-
Hardwire, but based on lumens.
But solar you can do as well, set it on timers rather
Okay.
than, but anyway.
Does that work
Based
for
on
everybody?
safety provided by the lighting, not
Okay.
source of energy.
Okay. So we have the notes on condition 2, and we have the notes on condition 5. Was there anything else?
That's what I have. No.
Okay. So we go ahead and finish your sentence.
Motion?
Oh, the number.
Okay, so I move that we approve 769-24-000080 PLNG with the conditions that were just stated
As amended.
as amended.
As amended. Okay, so we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Who came in first? Gretchen?
Gretchen.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You're approved.
I just
And-
pounded with you when you all went like this.
And, you know, don't hesitate to have a conversation with your neighbor.
We're always exchanging text over
Well,
Messenger.
I
He
think
sends
it-
me our toilets, our porta potties when there's a storm. They walk around, so Jimmy sends me a snap.
Well, a conversation over a cup of
Send
coffee or
Darren.
tea is always a good thing. All righty. Thank you very much.
Can I say one more thing? I want to thank Jeff. Just because working with him on this was great. He made himself available. He helped out. He communicated when he could. He's a little too busy, but he worked around that.
Talk to his boss about that.
Did you hear how somebody tried to scam her out of money in the name of Seaside that Jeff caught?
No, but we'll have to talk about that at another time, but thank you. Thanks for coming in, folks.
Thank you.
All righty.
Have a nice
Thank you.
Right.
Have a great project.
Bye now. Ordinance administration.
I have nothing for ordinance administration.
Okay. Comments from city staff. How's Deb doing?
We're running short right now. That's all I can say. We're about 50% down in staffing for an extended period of time. I will say, though, we are scheduling a presentation on our buildable lands inventory. It'll be at a upcoming city council meeting, likely first or second meeting in April, where the planning commission will be invited to join the city council if they'd like and hear the presentation on our buildable lands inventory, which is a big part of our comprehensive plan update as well.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of notification for that. Comments from the commission. I am going to hold you. Okay.
Nope, I'm good.
Nothing, Mr. Johnson?
Nope.
Ms. Dahmer? Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Rose? Ms. Klezak?
Any updates on the comp plan? Where are we at? What's happening?
We're gonna present the buildable lands inventory, and then from there, I got to meet with our consultant to figure out when we're gonna get on the books. I want to get a date on the books for the steering committee and roll out the first draft of the plan.
So the buildable lands is part of the consultant's work with the comp plan?
They would have done a buildable lands inventory for our comp plan, but the county did a county-wide project for buildable lands and readiness. For
Okay.
the comp.
Cool.
So it's,
So yes, it's part of our comp
It
plan,
is.
and it's the same consultant
Not
firm
part of the
doing
contract that we're paying
firm.
for.
Right.
Perfect.
yeah, that was good. All righty. Mr. Kraft, you're up.
Thank you. I do have something, and this is a longer discussion, but not for tonight. I did send some ideas and thoughts over to Planning Director Flory. I'm going to read a little bit, a tiny summary of what it is, but I do have a packet for each of you. Not a packet, it's 2 pages of some things that I'd like the Planning Commission to consider. So I'd like to see the Planning Commission would entertain making some recommendations to the City Council for some items on the, that are listed in the packet that I'll give you, but to City Council. This is not up for full discussion at this time. It needs to be an agenda item, and the commissioners need time to review the documents. I have provided a copy of it via email to Director Flory, and it's in regards to the City of Seaside Ordinances, Chapter 31 on page 11, concerning the Planning Commission section titled The Powers and Duties, and opening up discussions around sections A and B in the ordinance, and just some items in there. And I'll give you these for you to look over, and hopefully we can have some good discussions about this.
And Jeff, I believe it's targeted to be on April or March or April. This is March.
This
oh my
is
gosh,
March.
April's agenda. Well, I'm late.
We'll do it. We'll put it on the agenda for April so that it goes out to the public. So if anybody wants to join us, then they have the ability to do that. But along with Commissioner Kraft's information, he's going to put out Article 9, Section 9.010 is very specific on who can authorize or initiate amendments to the zoning code or the zoning map. And it states, an amendment to the text of this ordinance or to a zoning map may be initiated by the City Council, the Planning Commission, or by application of a property owner. So it's well within the authority of the Planning Commission to have discussions on making amendments to our code and making those recommendations to the City Council. I would suggest we have the discussion in the commission meeting, get a consensus from the commission and more of a scope of what Commissioner Kraft is proposing before we go to the City Council. And the second step, I would suggest, would be maybe a joint work session with the City Council to hash out some of the finer details before we go full on into an application and amendment. We don't want to go down the road of doing work on something when, or if the council has no desire to move it forward.
Can I make a suggestion so that we don't run afoul of public meetings law? It would probably be best if you sent the email to Jeff and Jeff disseminates it to all of us rather than you disseminating it to all of us.
Is that how you like to do it instead?
Yeah, we can do that, and I'll send it out
Okay,
tomorrow.
great.
I already have it. So
Great. You said bring a packet, so I brought packet. So,
Okay.
great.
If you hand him that folder and he hands out
Well,
the
he already
paper,
has.
then-
He has the email with.
well, if you guys want it tonight,
I
hand
would
it to me and I'll
prefer
hand it
not
out.
to have the paper, but
seriously,
yeah.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else from anybody else? Believe it or not, I have nothing to say, except